Principal Wills, do you know who will be replacing you?
Whoever it is, just remember one thing. It's all about the students. It's not about you two.
Come tomorrow, there's a brand new principal in town. His name is Brian Banks.
You asked interrogative questions around my suit. It's gone.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Come on.
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might be qualified, ML.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now?
It's off. Okay. Hey, kids, it's your old pal, ML Elric. And
jump the gun, my man.
For those of us who follow this show live, Shawn, Mark, and I have no choice. But those of you watching on Facebook or on YouTube, we encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. By the way, it really helps the show. Wondering, why are we starting late? Why are we going later than 11 o'clock? Alan Lengel says, is it the holidays, Rosh Hashanah? No, we were having an extended moment of silence for Bob Barker. We were commiserating. We were sitting Shiva for Bob, and who died, if you didn't know this, at the age of 99. I think the funniest comment I saw about that was total Price is Right moment. He came in just under $1, which was great. But if you read his obituary in the New York Times, Bob Barker made the front page of the Sunday New York Times. Now, if you're trying to figure out whether you actually draw water or made an impact, being in an obit on the front page of the New York Times is huge. But here's what you might not have noticed if you read that, because I know we have a lot of New York Times subscribers here, but I just wanted to highlight this. This is how incredible Bob Barker's life is. He outlived the guy who wrote the obituary by 17 years.
Wait, what?
Yes.
Oh, he wrote the obit 17 years ago?
So the guy who wrote the obit is a guy named Richard Severo. He was a Times reporter from 1968 to 2006. Oh, sorry. He didn't outlive him by 17 years. The obituary was written at least 17 years, and the guy who wrote it died in June.
Wow.
So Bob Barker not only outlived expectations at the New York Times for his life expectancy, he outlived the guy who wrote that he had died. So that's
sounds like Barker really phoned it in the last 17 years and didn't do anything.
Pretty amazing. Barker, he became a movie star, right?
The last 17 years, though.
Well,
I mean, they didn't have to change. They didn't have to update the obit.
Well, no. Peter Keepnose, I don't know if that's his Native American name, and Chris Cameron contributed reporting. So somebody,
that's the dumbest dad joke.
Somebody picked this up when after Richard Severo. In fact, I don't even think Richard Severo got an obituary in the New York Times. So that's quite the tribute to.
Hey, did that obit have any of Bob's indiscretions in it?
As you'd expect from a New York Times obit, it did mention, as most of the TV ones didn't, that Diane Parkinson sued him in, let me find this, in
92, 93, I think.
No, I think it was 94 or 95. But she dropped the lawsuit because she said she didn't have the money. He was challenged in 1994 when Diane Parkinson, for almost 20 years, had been a model on the show, one of the so-called Barker's beauties. That wouldn't happen today. Sued Mr. Barker for sexual harassment, or is it harassment?
Either or.
She left the show the year before and said she had sex with Mr. Barker because she thought she would lose her job if she didn't. In response, Mr. Barker acknowledged that he and Ms. Parkinson had a relationship for a number of years, beginning in 1989, but insisted it had been consensual. She told me I had always been so straight-laced that it was time I had some hanky-panky in my life, and she volunteered the hanky-panky.
That sounds like something I could see him say.
Oh, yeah. She withdrew the lawsuit in 1995 because she said she lacked both the emotional endurance and the money to pursue it. Now, Bob Barker was a widower. He was married to the same woman his entire life. Well, not his entire life, but his entire married life. And in 1945, he married Dorothy Jo Gideon, his high school sweetheart, who once explained the secret of their marriage this way. I think it may be the same secret that my marriage has. I love Bob Barker, and Bob Barker loves Bob Barker. She died in 1981, and Mr. Barker never remarried, although he did have some hanky-panky with...
No, he dated. He started dating a woman in '82, and he was with her till he died.
Well, so he
No,
waited.
whatever,
He was
yeah.
respectful. He played a little plinko and come on down. I mean, how many creepy lines could you come up with for Bob Barker?
Did you all see all the thanks and tributes for all the youngsters? Well, not youngsters, but for all the folks now that were young then that would stay home from school.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he would basically be their babysitter.
Oh yeah, I know. That's why
He was
Price
like
is
a-
Right was so successful.
He was like a
because-
tan Mr. Rogers.
There was-
you know what I mean?
There was a great outtake. So I went on YouTube and said Bob Barker highlights or whatever it was. And there was one where he had a teacher on there and he said, "You've never seen the show?" And she's like, "No." He's like, "Really? You're not familiar with the Price?" She's like, no, never seen it. She's like, "Really? You've never seen this show?" And she says, "Is this show, are we taping on a Saturday?" And he goes, "Oh, okay." You're playing hooky from work.
Yeah.
Of course she'd seen it. Everybody who's ever been in school saw it. And so he nailed this teacher for basically bailing out on class to be on The Price is Right. She's like, "Can we say this is a Saturday when we're taping this?" Because, they tape like multiple shows in one day and then string them out. But
What a great gig that would have been.
But that was the best part of staying home from school when you were young, right? You couldn't wait till 11 o'clock or noon or whenever it was.
It was one of them.
I thought
yeah.
missing
10
school
o'clock.
was the best gig from.
Oh, but you look forward to that back in those days. There were 3 channels in PBS, and that's what you look forward
I
to.
always liked the cartoon The Justice League, and I was homesick one day, and it was a to be continued, so I had to pretend to be sick the next day. So I watched the second half.
The Justice. No, I'm
What?
thinking of the Super Friends.
That's what it was. Super
I like the
Friends.
Super
I
Friends.
Same
hated
thing, yeah.
the twins.
What? Wonder Twins?
Yes,
I didn't like their little monkey.
That stupid
Eek or
monkey Gleek.
Yeah.
First
Fuck
of
that
all,
guy. Fuck that guy.
not a good sidekick. But it was
No, they were pointless.
The whole contrivance was, I have to be an animal, and you have to be
Shape
like
of water.
a shape
right?
of water.
Which what a lame superhero
Well,
that is.
It would be lame, except he'd do stuff like, form of a frozen bulldozer. It's like, you're just a bulldozer made out of ice.
The
That's
engine doesn't
not
work.
how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's anybody who knows. I mean, those of us who studied organic chemistry so closely know that's not. No, I didn't study. I was bad.
Well, at least they had a superhero. I mean, Batman didn't even have a superpower. He just had a lot of money.
That's why I was more of a Jetsons
In
guy.
America, that's the only superpower that matters. You got a lot of money, you can
Fair
do whatever
point,
you can.
yeah.
In fact, if you have a lot of money, you can go into space in America. That's a superpower,
Pretty sweet.
brother.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, you can buy a social media platform and ruin it. So, yeah, that's a great superpower. Before we get too far, we have to acknowledge someone who has a superpower. At least it may be a superpower you wish to put to service for you and your family, and that is Luke Nowacki, our presenting sponsor and the only advertiser to sponsor all the shows on the Red Shovel Network. He's keeping us financially afloat, and he can make sure that your retirement is something that you can enjoy, whether it's as an animal, as a form of water, or as an annoying little chimp.
That's right.
Would you want to retire to be a chimp? I don't know.
Gleek.
Sorry. Yeah.
But yeah, if
So you don't have a Gleek future?
Am I doing the read here?
Yes, please.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
I wish you'd started sooner before I got into that.
I don't know if it was a
extended riff.
teaser. Okay. Just make sure your financial goals are on target, right? Life's pretty hard as it is. Let Luke handle that part. Give him a call, 248-663-4748. Give you a free consultation. Once again, should you be in stocks? Should you be in bonds? Your age depends on it. Let Luke handle it. Let him at least start to guide you. 248-663-4748.
Because when you call Luke, he'll make it all about you.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. Member FINRA SIPC.
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent.
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc.
I did not know this until I was listening to the Drew and Mike show, which we encourage you to do every day. They could use some help. If you want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, I guess they do some stuff on YouTube as well. They're trying to catch up with us. We're almost up to 500 subscribers. I think they're almost up to 11,000 subscribers, something like that. But I didn't realize it's Osaic Wealth. I thought it was Mosaic. It's Osaic.
Yep.
Okay. Well, it has kind of an Egyptian feel there. Like ISIS and... Do you remember the... was that Shazam who called on the power of ISIS to become... Or was that Electro Woman and Dinah
Shaquille
Girl?
O'Neal?
Here, I have an answer. Mark, do you do this show out of pity?
Osiris. That's
Going
who it
from
was.
11,000 to 500 Is that
No, I like being here. Believe it or not,
Is it?
I enjoy your company.
You just our little
ML's
show.
okay,
It's not. It's not our little show. It's Mike's. He reminded me last week. I tried to hijack the show, I guess. But you take pity on us? Is that what's happening?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Well, Drew explained the secret to their YouTube success. They said no Shawn Windsor.
Or maybe it's no Mike Elric. I don't know.
Melrick.
Every once in a while, I show up on the Drew and Mike show. Not often enough. I'd like to be on the Drew and Mike show.
I know, because you really want to talk about your new column too, which was a really good column.
Yes. So
wait a second.
What?
Can we avoid? We avoided it last week. Can we do that again this week?
I don't know. Do you have somebody at the airport?
Was there an airport? In
You want to talk about
Falkland?
your? You want to talk about your column?
Yeah. Remember
No, I do
week's
not.
last week's story where Sean's like, this guy in a wheelchair needed help getting into a van. I'm like, why are you taking all the good parking spaces? I'm here to pick up my damn relatives who said they want to come here if I'm. And then he backed over the guy. I think we have video of that on our YouTube channel if you want to subscribe and like and share and hit the button for alerts so you always know. Something like that.
Is life okay, Shawn? Are you all right?
Yeah, no. No. Look, I don't want to hijack the show again. Let's go back to your column.
Since when?
Yeah,
No, we don't want to make it interesting. Let's go back to your column.
he's just relieved that
column
those.
was interesting. I got your back, Melrick.
He's just relieved that those no good freeloading relatives that he invited are finally out of here. It's like, thank God. All they did was come here and eat my gourmet breakfast and trample on the tulips and all that other good shit in his English garden back there.
Holland.
Drew refers to this guy as America's guest because he always keeps popping up, and I think that's a fair statement. But Brian Banks is back. You've heard me report on him at Fox 2 and at the Free Press since 2012 when he first ran for state rep. At that time, I think he only had 8 felonies, and I think he may still only have 8 felonies because the last time he was facing multiple felony charges, he pled guilty to a misdemeanor to avoid going to prison because he defrauded a credit union and all this other stuff. He is...
Was he convicted of 8 felonies?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and the amazing thing is, so I had a friend of mine take a look at my column and say, what do you think? How can I tighten it? What can I do? He said, well, you need to tell people how much time he spent in prison for those 8 felonies.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
And the truth is...
Who is this friend?
Andrew Galarno. Nice. He's one of my buddies from New Hampshire, one of the best reporters and best writers I've ever worked with.
How long was the column before he started?
Company notwithstanding.
That's pretty long.
Well, I actually asked him, can you help me cut it? So that was...
That's what I mean. It must have been 30 pages.
So one of the best writers and reporters in the world is just like, still ended up being that long. But he's like, how much time did he do in prison?
Great question.
And the answer is no time, because this guy, throughout his career, has relied on his political connections and his friends to get a break, including when you have...
It's a real wonder why he keeps committing felonies then, right? He doesn't pay a penalty.
Exactly. He keeps walking away from every car crash that he causes. He's like the wrong way driver on the highway where you hear the report like, he struck a car, the driver of the other car and the passengers were instantly killed. The wrong way driver's in the hospital, expected to recover soon.
My mouth is agape because I'm blown away, and I must be naive to think that you can commit 8 felonies and never spend a day in prison.
Yeah, he just keeps cutting plea deals, and sometimes it's because he finds judges that are friendly to him, and so they let this happen. And other times he talks prosecutors into agreeing.
8? Maybe 1 felony? Wow. Okay.
So here's
time.
Here's what folks may not know about Michigan law, but I think you can kind of divine it because it just makes sense. That when you're convicted of multiple felonies, you become what we call a habitual offender, which means once you've committed so many felonies, if you commit another felony, let's say that the maximum sentence is 5 years. Well, as a habitual offender, there's a multiplier, and so the 5 years may become 10 or 15 years because it's the law's way of saying you're not learning. Our laws are not hard enough for you, so we have to put an enhancement in there just so we can get it through your thick damn skull. And I would be tempted to say he doesn't learn, but he has learned. He's learned that he can game the system. When he runs for office, even with this terrible record, and we're not even getting into the civil side of it where he's been sued for sexually harassing his aide, where he's been sued for not paying his rent, where he's been sued for not paying his bills.
How many civil judgments do you know off the top of your head?
I mean, it's got to be somewhere.
At least 3, 4, 5?
No.
More?
I mean, I think there's at least a dozen lawsuits filed against him for not paying for stuff that he promised he would pay for. But even after all this, he gets endorsed by people like Mayor Mike Duggan, Wayne County Executive Warren Evans, former Detroit Police Chief, and then Wayne County Sheriff Benny Napoleon. Although I can tell you, after I did one of my first stories on Brian Banks, an advisor to Benny Napoleon said, Benny never endorses anybody. Brian talked him into endorsing him, making an exception, and he did. Now he's like, he really regrets it. He wished he'd never endorsed this
he's just
bum.
a smooth talker. Is that what it is?
Well, he's a smooth talker, and he's connected.
Networker, yeah.
He's connected, and so he helps people, and he expects them to help him. And he is very effective because he works hard, and nobody works harder than a liar, because when you lie, it's incredibly difficult to maintain that artifice. I have been in situations where maybe there was a little overlap between girlfriends or something like that, like maybe not too long or anything, but
what a humble brag that is.
No, just like things were pretty much on the outs,
okay.
But
they didn't know that, but you
didn't quite. I think everybody knew it, but you didn't quite get to that situation where we have to have the conversation.
What do you mean you think?
Because I can't speak for other people.
Oh, I see. So they didn't know at all.
But no, you're a young person and you're dating and you meet somebody else and you're like, this relationship feels like it's playing out. Then you meet somebody else like, wow, I really like them. That must mean something's fading in the other relationship. And so there's almost like a dovetailing there. But at any rate.
You're saying you have enough love for everyone, so it doesn't really ever fade.
Well, there are some exceptions, but we won't get that. But what happens is when you're trying to say, I don't really feel like going out tonight because of whatever. And
so
then,
you call up your other girl?
Maybe they call you. I don't know. I don't know how this works.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is just trying to that little fulcrum point where you're transitioning from one thing to the next thing. Or let's say it's another job, like you're going to take another job and you're talking to the new employer, but you're still working for the old employer, and you're like, yeah, I really don't want to get into any long-term projects right now because I'm, and like, wow, what are you thinking about? I say, and meanwhile, you're trying to figure out where you're going to sit in the new place. Keeping all that straight is exhausting. Mm-hmm. It's exhausting. And when Kwame, get the bell ready, when Kwame Kilpatrick's people asked me to be his first press secretary, and I was thinking about it, I couldn't get involved in any long-term planning with the Free Press because it wouldn't have been appropriate for me to help the Free Press plan something if I was going to work for the mayor, and I couldn't help the mayor on anything because it wouldn't be appropriate for me as an employee of the Free Press to help the mayor get ready for anything. I had to take a week off from work because just trying to sort all that out made my head feel like it was going to explode, all of which is to say that when you are telling somebody something and it's not the truth and you're trying to convince people, you work harder than anybody, and most of us don't have the energy of Brian Banks because this guy lies about so much. He must just be constantly cranking.
That was a lot of all, by the way, when you said all of which to say, and I think Mark and I now need a week off to sift through that.
Well, the whole point of it is, so you have this 8-time convicted felon who served no time.
Oh, yeah.
At least
Wait a
12.
second. I thought we were talking about his gals. I wanted to hear more about that.
I know, but I'm trying to get him back on track. You mind talking about his women? We'll be here all day.
So your life, so you got married, and that simplified things for you, because before you were with 8-10 gals at a time.
Yeah, marriage simplified.
I want to hear this.
So, anyways, Brian Banks is the principal at.
Wait a second. Was there a pre-show meeting that I missed? Because what are we talking about today, anyway?
ML's column right now. Thanks for attending the pre-show meeting.
Yeah, I'd say anything that happened before 11:15, you'll just have to guess at because you were not a witness in it.
Anything else we're talking about?
Yeah,
today?
your column. We'll get to that.
Okay. Do you feel like it's your show, by the way, again now, Mike, after that last 15 minutes or so?
No, after the last 30 seconds, I feel like a barnacle on the SS Shawn Windsor heading right towards an iceberg while everybody else says, nothing to worry about. While the band played Waltzing Matilda. No? Okay.
I thought was Matilda one of your gals?
No, that's from the.
Isn't that what they played?
I think so. That's.
Oh yeah.
No, I just thought maybe also you dated somebody named Matilda.
So McDowell Preparatory Academy is a 100-year-old school in Detroit. It's extremely challenged. When it comes to test scores, they have 7% of their students hit the state proficiency, hit the proficient in all subjects. The state average is 37%, which means they are not doing well at all.
Can I ask you about that? What's do you have any idea what the city of Detroit's at? Instead of comparing it to the state?
That's a good question. I do not know.
Okay.
So that's the short answer. But I
mean, I would assume it's less than the state, but I would be blown away if it was as low as Academy.
So that's where this gets complicated, because when the state does these averages, they give you the school score, then they give you the state average, and then they try and compare you to comparable schools.
Mm-hmm.
Well, comparable schools to McDowell, the proficiency rate is 48%.
Okay, there you go. Well, because it's a charter school.
But hold on a second. I talked to an expert at Chalkbeat, which covers education issues, and when we looked at comparable schools to McDowell, the schools were in Rochester Hills, Livonia, wherever. So like, there's no way that schools in Rochester Hills are comparable to McDowell. I think probably the poorest person in Rochester Hills could buy and sell me 10 times over. So I don't know how the state figures out what comparable schools are, but this is a school that has been struggling for a long time, deserves to have a tremendous experienced educator at the helm to try and straighten it out. Instead, a bunch of Brian Banks' political pals run the school. They fire their management company so that they can pick the superintendent of the school, and they pick Brian Banks, who's never been an administrator, who's never been a superintendent or a principal, but he needed a job because they hired him right after he lost his most recent political campaign. So he was looking for a gig. Now, he does have a master's degree in education from Wayne State, and he does have a PhD from an online college, which, by the way, U.S. News and World Report does not rank among their top 800, colleges that or graduate schools that they evaluate. But they figured this is the right guy for the job.
Need some water?
And I need some justice. And they don't
I mean, that's
model that.
all well and good, but 8 felonies, and he has to be licensed. You wrote this in his column. He has to get a license from the Department of Education. And they didn't have any issue with his felonies that he served no time for, or is the civil judgments, the money issues?
Well, they wouldn't answer questions when I asked them, when they said, we think a lot, he's learned. Like, well, do you know about this? Do you know about that? Do you know about this guy that you're worried about handling money at this school? Because when he got his license to be an administrator, there's a proviso that you can't have any financial crimes and you can't handle money.
I find it hard to believe that Brian Banks would be around money of any sort and not want to handle it.
Well, the reason why that's a particularly cogent point is when I was driving here, I drove by an old grocery store on the east side that's now closed, but where he took some campaign checks and he sent one of his assistants over there to cash them at the bodega, which is illegal. You can only cash those in your campaign account, but he wanted money. This guy has a history of mishandling money. And so when I tried to ask the Michigan Department of Education if they were aware of those things, and if they were aware of the fact that at the time they gave him his certificate, he had a judgment against him because he stiffed yet another creditor, that's when they stopped answering questions.
So do you think, because obviously the school, the management company of the school will do nothing about it. They like him. They hired him. They know what the real story is. They probably have a lot of connections. But do you have any inkling that maybe the Department of Education might have stopped answering your questions because they want to look into it a little bit more? And can they do anything?
My suspicion is that nobody wants to look into this anymore because they're afraid of what they're going to find and because they've already turned this guy loose. It's kind of like...
But is that something they could do? Could they rescind whatever the certificate is? Could they force him out?
That's a great question, and I don't know
because it's a charter school. The rules are a little different.
Well, the board is not going to force him out.
No, exactly. Yeah.
They love him, and they're the ones who are supposed to watch over it. But Detroit public schools are supposed to watch over them because this is a charter school that's been chartered by the public schools, which is a whole weird thing right there that we don't have to get into because it's more convoluted than this other stuff, which is pretty convoluted. But when I asked them,
but it's fascinating.
4 years ago, you guys didn't want to do business with this guy. Now he's running a school that you're responsible for. They didn't want to answer any of those questions. So people just want to allow Brian Banks to get in a position where he can cause more mischief, and they don't want to watch him, and they don't want to talk about it. And the
So
column, as I see it,
he
there's
wins
2
again.
points.
He wins again.
Yeah.
Does he have something over him? Anybody?
Does he? Oh, what, over the people that hired him?
Yeah, I mean, what?
No, I think they just know him and they're friends with him. I mean, you heard ML say all the people that gave him endorsements.
Just like his charisma.
No, I
Yeah,
think I think he gets things done for them. I think he's useful to them. So when you may remember in 2012, Wayne County Executive Warren Evans put together a group to try and limit the number of candidates for the congressional district in Detroit to one black candidate, hoping that he could beat Shri Tanadar, who ended up winning because he's only brown, so what, not good enough. So what happened is they had people who volunteered on that committee and who did the things like call candidates and say, hey, you got to come in for a meeting. We want to do this. Brian Banks was one of the people who worked on that committee. So he makes himself useful. He is someone who has always worked in politics. At some point, he went from being behind the scenes to being a candidate. And then he called in all his markers, and he was a successful candidate, never lost an election until he was forced to resign in disgrace. But that's...
And then he didn't file his campaign finance laws or rules, or what is it, the forms?
Yeah, so people
So
are...
no one knows where that money went.
He's telling people I've changed, I've gotten better, all this other crap. And one of the things that he's not good at is handling money. And everybody says, no, he's reformed. But he's still not disclosing where he gets his campaign money, what he's doing with it. He's not paying fines that he has for failing to do that. These are the signs that he has not changed. These are the signs that this problem may happen again. And this isn't about let's try and crush Brian Banks. Brian Banks can do whatever Brian Banks wants to do. This is about a school that's struggling.
That's what I was going to say.
That
My first thought is, okay, well, you know what? He'll end up failing, and they're going to have egg on their face, and this whole school will just blow up, and it'll be failure. But meanwhile, you have 350 kids that go there.
Yeah. You have hundreds of families who are counting on this school.
I feel like education
to help their kids.
Education is becoming like a new center point for scams in general. I don't know. Have you guys seen or
There's
heard?
a lot of money there. A lot of money.
Have you seen BS High about the football team that was created without the school
No,
of Bishop Sycamore?
I heard you guys talking about it on the aforementioned Drew and Mike podcast the other day.
The guy that was interviewed in that reminds me a lot of a Brian Banks type where, yeah, you write a lot of checks. You don't have to pay them. You don't ever have to pay anybody. And he started a school that doesn't exist. And you're basically using these kids as a commodity for yourself to raise money, to make a living, to raise your stature. It's really sickening. And no one cares because seems to be very little rules overseeing any schools or athletic departments within a school.
Yeah. The problem is it's our tax money. It's your tax money, which is why everybody who doesn't have a kid going to this school in Detroit should care. By the way, the other thing is everybody's like, well, people don't care about our kids and, don't tell us how to educate our kids. Brian Banks lives in Grosse Pointe, and some of the school board members, I don't know where all the school board members live, but the school board chairwoman lives in West Bloomfield, and one of the other school board members who voted for him and who had donated to his campaigns lives in Lincoln Park. So this whole notion of we got to watch out for our kids.
In Chicago?
No.
Lincoln Park here. It's right here.
Linkin Park. Yeah, there you go. This is just outside Detroit, Shawn. I don't know if it's a suburb of Detroit, just like Fort Worth is a suburb of Dallas. I don't know if you knew that. But I was thinking of that yesterday. Last week we were talking about the 4 major metro centers in Texas. Like, does that include Dallas Fort Worth? Because that may be 2. I'm not really sure.
That's 1.
That's what I thought too. That's what I thought. But I've been told otherwise.
No, it's 1.
I would love to hear. They would never go on the record, but wouldn't you love to hear from a teacher at this academy what they think about all that?
See, now that's the other thing, is I suspect we're going to start hearing from people saying, hey, guess what's happening at the school now?
Yeah.
Or we're going to be hearing from people who say, nobody told me that my kid's principal was a crook. Because that's the other thing. When school board members defend a hiring like this, they say, he has had life experiences that make him a suitable candidate. Well, okay, if that's true, why don't you say anything about that on the website? If that's one of his selling points, then sell it, advertise it, make that a beacon that people can be drawn to. And then he says, and a lot of our families have a similar background. Well, wait, record scratch. You're saying that a lot of the families who send their kids to your school are 8-time felons, And let's say they are 8-time
and have
felons,
connections.
which I think is a huge exaggeration. And as a parent at that school, I'd be offended that you're like, oh, so I'm an 8-time felon? Okay, great. That's who you think I am. But none of them have the connections, as you so sagely pointed out, that would allow you to be an 8-time felon and not do any prison time. This guy, in fact, while he did have, I think, a very challenged upbringing, which may be similar to some of the upbringings that these kids are facing, has used his ingenuity and his energy to rip off everybody he can possibly
It's just a matter.
find.
It's just a matter of time.
And if you were telling me, I know your child is coming from a difficult background, and so you and he are probably dirtbags like Brian Banks, that would offend the hell out of me. But if you think that's why I want to send my kid to this school, don't just tell a reporter who catches this shenanigan that he's like everybody else. That should be something where you say, we're going to call this the Second Chance Academy. We're going to say we have a principal that knows what it's like to grow up in challenges, that knows what it's like to have made mistakes and to be involved with the criminal justice system. And he's going to use that experience to help you turn your life around. But they don't say that.
Transparency, right?
They never say that until they're caught. In the same way that people say, oh, well, don't worry about my bankruptcies because a lot of people here are bankrupt. Yeah, well, if that's one of your selling points and one of your strengths, don't only mention that when you're caught. Say that up front. So that's the latest column in the Free Press. I suspect there will be more to come because I think we're going to hear from people who are like, hey, so who, what? What's this all about?
Well, I hope they get up in arms. I hope the parents get a little pissed off. I hope some of the employees get a little pissed off about it.
Well, we'll find out, but I'm also digging deeper to see what's in that file when he had his hearing, when the review went over his record, and to see if people at the Department of Education had some concerns, if there were some red flags that were raised that got swept aside.
They said he didn't. They said he did not misrepresent himself, but as you point out in the article, do they really know the whole story? Is it lying by omission? Did he keep some stuff out?
So there's, as Catholics, we know about sins of omission, right? So if you don't ask me,
I'm really good at them.
If you don't ask me a question,
keep digging.
Then I can't misrepresent myself, right? Because you haven't asked me the question that I would have to lie about.
No, I have a question for you. Does anybody have a pillow around here?
Oh, come on.
No, not because
important shit.
Not
man.
because of the content. I just haven't slept.
Yeah, right.
I
haven't either. School's back in session.
Sean's still tired from waiting for those flights to arrive. At
still on vacation. Still on a 2 month or 2 week vacation.
No, the end of the vacation, it didn't have power for several days, and you know how.
Oh, you want to talk about that?
No, I don't. I just, you know how that goes. So I'm a little sleepy. Sorry.
Sean, did you read our piece about Mary Sheffield declaring for mayor of Detroit?
I don't know what you're talking about. Dan
Afana and I broke some news yesterday that Mary Sheffield, the city council president, who once twerked in my wife's face, is, that's
okay.
An interesting story.
Well, so wait, who broke it? You or Dana?
Let's just say the team broke it.
That's nice.
At the Free Press, we all work together.
Do you?
For the public.
That's nice.
So...
Even though you told me, was it before we started recording or after? How do you say the vowels if you're somebody like you?
I said A-E-I-O-U some sugar. That's how you remember.
But as a big fancy columnist like yourself, what's the most important vowel?
Well, I appreciate you thinking of me as a big fancy columnist. But what I said was, and I want to get this right because big fancy columnists try and get things right. I said the great columnists think that their list of vowels is only one, and it's I. I didn't say that I thought that. I thought the great columnist. Now, if you
include yourself in that.
If you've placed me in that category, I'm flattered.
No,
and
I thought you were including yourself.
But
no, I admire your confidence. I could probably use some of it, to be honest. I admire that.
Sean, there's only one vowel in my alphabet, and that's you. Because all I care about is people.
Oh man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek, or we're turning into cool guys?
Did I mention Mary Sheffield's?
Wait a second. We had some feedback that people didn't want the Geek of the Week. Didn't we get some feedback?
All right, fine.
Of that
Sean's running things now.
What?
I thought we had some feedback. People saying they didn't want the Geek of the Week anymore.
One person.
Yeah, what did they want? Warm puppy photo of the week?
And he's the Geek of the Week now.
Well, I saw on our viewer list earlier there was one person, so maybe it's that person.
Well, did you see that Frank checks in and says, I think Shawn needs to update his Facebook pic? If I'm not mistaken, he has a full head of hair in that image.
On your free press picture.
Who said that?
Francis J. Kucinich.
Francis, I don't have hair in that photo. Maybe it's the...
Yeah, a little more hair. I'm looking at it right now.
And I think I just mangled Frank's last name. I apologize.
Sorry. I only apologize on his behalf. Sorry, Frank.
Francis.
But sorry, Francis. By the way, where'd my screen go? I can't see anything.
Good.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Oh, because
you want to derail us even more?
No. I
think Shawn doesn't need hair. I think Shawn's a handsome man, and I think with less hair we have more face, and I think that's good.
No, I got about 6 chins. I noticed the profanity filter was off.
What do you mean? Where?
There was a whole list of things. Profanity filter was off. It's all blank now. I guess it doesn't matter.
Hey, what does Clemmy say? Can we scroll up and see? We have another comment from YouTube. Mark says, how much does the school pay Banks? Good question.
Great question.
We're trying to find that out, Mark. We have a lot more questions. I'm also wondering if he's being paid more than the last superintendent and principal at the school. And Frank, checking in from Canada, says he likes the shirt.
Oh, your shirt?
I don't know.
Sean's
I'm not
shirt?
sure which shirt.
My shirt is nothing.
My shirt.
Could be Shawn's.
ML has a very. Your shirt. I laughed out loud when I saw it.
I'm going to stand up and watch.
I think it's a really cool shirt, and I'll describe it.
Stand up like Charlie.
Those listening. He went and saw the Beach Boys, so it's a Beach Boys shirt. It's got the retro picture of the guys in the circle. And
is that a new band?
Two palm trees. It says the Beach Boys. The only problem is it's set about 5 inches too low because the words in the picture start, right below your rib cage. It's like right on your stomach. It's the weirdest thing.
That way you
Looks
can
like
see,
a maternity shirt.
so it's not covering up. It's not covering up your nipples.
But there's nothing in that chest part. It's all just black. It looks ridiculous. It's got to be a misprint.
I'm glad you saw a newer band, though. That's great. I think that's cool that you're.
Well, you don't like the
listening
Beach
to
Boys?
Some new music.
You don't like the Beach Boys?
I'm sure there are several people in that band who are younger than us. They just weren't the Beach
I don't know
Boys.
the Beach Boys.
I like Brian Wilson. Yeah.
I didn't know you were an ageist, Shawn. I'm very
No, I
sorry to hear
I just
that.
think
Hey,
it's cool that
they're
you're
timeless, Shawn.
they are. You're right, but I just think it's cool that you're finally, listening and watching and being part of stuff that's being created now by young people. It's great.
We work for a newspaper. The Beach Boy demographic is exactly who's paying our salary.
I know. I mean, but I just want you to, expand out there. Listen to Mark, because Mark is how I keep up a little bit too.
So we're skipping Geek of the Week now?
Mark's always got suggestions.
I like newer bands. I like the Beatles. They're newer than the Beach Boys. I think that Presley kid. He's got a lot of talent in him. He was a hero to most, but he never meant shit to me.
Hey, wow, that was a PE reference. Well done.
Yeah. And
catch that?
No,
that was a song from 1989.
And you guys were talking about Drew and Mike was talking about
the funky drummer,
Living Color. Remember Elvis? Elvis was electrifying. Elvis was.
Boy.
Elvis is dead. You know Elvis is dead by In Living Color.
You should. I don't know that song. The band, not the TV show.
No, but Living Color has a song called Elvis is Dead, which is fantastic. It's a great song. Not new wave, but it's not very good. So our Geek of the Week is public officials who don't answer questions.
There's an all-night party in room 7609. Got the time.
My friends, the summer of Britpop continues, although like the summer, it is winding down, and we are building up to the ultimate Britpop act, which we will play before we get back to our new wave theme, which, if you recall, we're challenging you to send us your favorite movie theme song that is also a new wave song. But Britpop is
just like Kevin
is fascinating because it's kind of a upbeat, very very English genre where it's kind of sing-songy and life is blah blah blah, and it became really big in Britain. At the same time, the antithesis of pop was becoming big on this side of the shore,
Grunge.
which is grunge. Yeah, and I mean, I was thinking about this on the way over here. A lot of thoughts on the way over here. Have you ever seen plaid on a British person above their waist? I mean,
God, no. Not
kilts
really.
and stuff like that, sure, no problem. But have you ever seen a British person with a flannel shirt on?
Not that I can think of. Well, wasn't that traditionally a northwestern United States thing?
I think
No,
so.
I wore those in the 70s in
or
the Midwest.
Canada.
Before that, yeah, Canada, I guess.
But I mean,
outdoorsy, woodsman, lumberjack type thing.
yeah, plaid is like the flag of grunge, but you don't even see flannel in
Flannel
England.
was all over the 70s in middle school in the Midwest. What are you talking about?
Right, no, but I'm saying in
Before
England,
that.
you know, you think of plaid as being a very British thing, but you don't see
in a
anybody
suit.
wearing plaid shirts, or, well, I guess you maybe like a plaid dress shirt or something, but you don't see flannel shirts over there. So anyway, while we were going crazy for flannel, they were going crazy for Britpop. And Room 7609 is brought to you by the people who bring you great music every week. That is the Caju Cafe. This weekend, clear your calendars. It is the Muscle Beach Music Festival. It starts on Thursday. That's August 31st at the Caju Cafe. First up, Ambrosia Blue, Werewolves, and then Blackwater Sniper from Chicago. Permanently Pissed is there, and Knuckle Dragger. Permanently Pissed, which is also
great name.
What happens to people at the garage bar. Best place in town to hang out for the summer. Friday Muscle Beach Music Festival continues. It goes into Saturday and Sunday and Monday, which is also Muscle Madness, all you can eat mussels at the Caju Cafe. They're going to take a break next Tuesday, but they're going to be going all Labor Day weekend with the Muscle Beach Music Festival. Too many bands to tell you about. That's how packed their calendar is. So go to cajucafe.com. They're open late every night. The kitchen is open later than almost anybody on the east side. Full menu available till midnight. Sunday they close a little earlier, the kitchen at 10 o'clock. But find out more about the Caju by going to cajucafe.com. And our Britpop entry this week is Pulp with a great video. In fact, it's considered one of the greatest videos of all time. It's called This Is Hardcore.
Biff Avery, screen test, take 2.
I didn't take her to the motel, she took me.
I'll tell you the unwritten law, you dumb son of a bitch.
Hey, I went to college once, but all they found were rats in my head. You ask any guy in town, ask any bum on Main Street. That's how she operates.
I saw you in some teenage wet dream. I like your get-up if you know what I mean. I want it bad. I want it now. Oh, can't you see? I'm ready now. I see.
That is one big song.
It's a longer tune. It tells a story. It's very dramatic, and it has lots of changes in it. Different moods. And if you watch the video, it's a great video. Now we had a little debate here, and I'm hoping if you watch the video, you will find it and tell us: is that Damian Lewis at the beginning?
It's not a debate.
It's not. Okay, so
I think the better debate is: does that even look like Damian Lewis? Star of Billions and Homeland and a bunch of other great TV shows.
And Life, which was awful, but was, I think, a remake of a British show. But yeah, no, it's a great tune. Pulp, they kind of tell stories about life in England and what you think about, boy-girl type songs, relationships, and just everyday things. I really like Pulp, and they have the lead singer has a real Damon Albarn sound in that song. Yeah, I don't notice it so much on some of their other tunes, but when we're listening to them, like, is this Gorillaz? Where are we going with this?
It does sound a little Gorillaz-esque.
Well, because Gorilla tells good stories too. It's I don't know. It's an interesting genre, and it's kind of the antithesis of grunge, and it's the post new wave, post kind of shoegaze.
More gaze than shoe.
So this is Room 7609, where we listen to music that Shawn hates, but it doesn't.
No, that was the worst selection.
Sean, admit you hate today's show.
No. That selection was.
You didn't like that song?
Oh, it's the top 5 worst selections we've had in 5 years now.
Are you kidding me?
It was terrible.
Why?
It's fucking pretentious and way too long, and it doesn't change at all. It's the same.
It did. I don't think you were listening.
That's the same feedback we got about
bullshit.
this show.
You know what I mean?
You're the worst.
How am I the worst?
You hate everything today. You're very cranky.
No, I mean,
he's tired.
That may be true, and I apologize for that, but that still doesn't mean the song is any good.
We need somebody to do a super cut of Shawn's Room 7609 evaluations. It'll be like an hour of, that's the worst thing we've ever had. This is the worst thing I've ever had. I've never heard anything worse than this, and we could date him. It would
bullshit, fake-ass melancholy crap.
Whoa.
Shawn knows real melancholy. He doesn't
I don't know real melancholy, but
there's a pain, there's a longing there.
I would have rather listened to the Transvision.
I mean, the song's about pornography.
Transvision Vamp?
Yeah.
Yeah. We've played Transvision Vamp before on here.
The song was fine.
As long as you've really...
It was lovely.
You hated it, that's fine.
As long as you've really dug in your heels.
It was lovely.
Did I mention Mary Sheffield's running for mayor? It was in the Free Press today. Dan Afana and I broke this.
I'm proud of you, man. Very proud of you.
Well, first we want to thank our donors, and you know how to donate. You go to mlsoulofdetroit.com. There's a button there that says PayPal. There's a button there that says Venmo. When you hit the Venmo button, as more people are doing, and we really appreciate that, it'll say Daisy House LLC. Don't worry. We are Daisy House LLC as far as Venmo is concerned. And that's where Joe sent a generous donation. He says $10 for each song I've selected for Room 7609.
Oh, wow.
Coincidentally, there's other people who will perform for $10 a song. They don't work here. They do work on 8 Mile, and they tend to perform to heavy metal music, but we will dance to any tune that you send us within reason. So thank you, Joe. And of course, Bryant supports us on a regular basis, and we really appreciate that because, as you may have noticed, we have 2 sponsors now. One of them is Luke Nowacki, and the other one is the Caju Cafe. And so it's tough to get sponsors, so we're relying more and more on the people who enjoy and appreciate this show to support us. So thank you very much for your generosity, your kindness, and for the time that you spend with us every week. And we know that you care because you tell us, and that's why we always welcome your feedback. Mark, how do people get in touch with us? How can they tell us what's on their mind?
Email us.
That sounds reasonable. It'd be mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com.
Yeah, I didn't know. That's funny. I'm sitting here going, what email does he want people to email it to? But yes.
Yes, mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com.
I knew that was one of them.
We do have a phone number, but I don't know that we've ever gotten 5 years, have we gotten one voicemail on that? Maybe one?
Yeah, it's a lot of spam. But yeah, this one came into. Do you want me to fire away on these?
I think you're on a roll.
Okay, mlsolodetroit@gmail.com. This is where Dan sent it in, which Dan loves.
Deadline Dan.
Boy, does this guy know timing or what? He knows when to send the email. But he wrote, hey, if there's time today, I'd love to know if Mr. Elric is growing weary about his football coach. Throwing his current players under the bus, whining and soft-selling this season days before it begins. Choo-choo, the excuse train has left the station. Even homers like Mike Valenti are tired of Tucker's shtick. Only about 9 years and $85 million guaranteed left on his contract, concluding in January of 2032. Athletic Director Alan Haller will have to sell a lot of brewskis at Spartan Stadium to buy that buyout, to pay for that buyout. So,
to me,
and it's all in reference to a big interview Mel Tucker gave to Graham Couch in the Lansing State Journal, setting up this season. And then Valenti went off on it for about 20 minutes.
Yeah, with Valenti, I mean, that's kind of his thing.
He's always aggravated.
He's a rager. In fact, yeah, that's his podcast. But
really?
But well, we're trying to help. We're trying to help some of these smaller podcasts out with a little plug. But this is the kind of Spartan I like. Under promise, over deliver. Right now, he's under promising. Can he over deliver? I hope so. Mark thinks he can over deliver, but of course, the delivery now is 5.5 games, so there's not much expected.
Look, what Tucker said was, I think there's a lot of truth in a lot of the stuff he said. I think there's a little bit of whining when it comes to the amount of money that they're raising on NIL. As opposed to, say, Michigan and Ohio State. They're not that far off, though. They really aren't. But
what surprises me is I thought we were ahead of the game on NIL. I thought MSU was...
They are, compared to a lot of schools, but they're still behind, some of the big boys.
Well, they're behind these teams that are coming in and stealing away their players, like Auburn and Florida State. I mean, those guys are... they got the old.
Oh, is that what happened?
They got the fishing pole out there with a stack of money on it.
Wait, you really think Florida State and Auburn came in and stole Keon Coleman and Peyton Thorne?
I can't speak to Peyton Thorne. I suspect money was a factor, but with Keon Coleman, and I have no independent reporting here, so this is just my opinion. But I suspect a lot of dough got dangled in front of him because when you look at Florida State and their recent track record, they have not done better than Michigan State, and I don't think they have a better setup right now than Michigan State.
If that is true, there still has to be something to help push you that way. I don't think the money is going to be that much difference where it's like, oh, that's a money grab, right?
Well, Chuck Brantley was going to leave, one of their starting defensive backs, and I think they put some more money on the table to keep him. So there is an example of that. But I
think there's personality problems.
Well, the other thing may be with Keon Coleman, it may be tied to Peyton Thorne, where he's like, this quarterback and I have a really good rhythm, and he's leaving, so why am I staying? And if he's thinking this is going to be my shot at playing on Sundays and he doesn't know who the quarterback is, I can understand saying, if I'm going to get my catches, I got to have somebody who can get the ball in my hands. Now, having said that, I don't think the quarterback situation in Florida State is any better than East Lansing.
Absolutely not.
So that leads me to believe that there's some money.
It's always more than one thing. But once again, I think what Tucker said, a lot of it's true, except he's not the guy that's supposed to be saying it. Can you imagine playing for a coach that's kind of like, we don't have the best players. Can we really compete? Seriously, pretend you're a player, and that's really, and then when all the rah-rah stuff starts happening, how are you going to buy into that? Are you going to believe it?
Well, I can't see D'Antonio saying that. I can see D'Antonio printing up some baseball caps for a particular game and trying to motivate guys. But yeah, that's the kind of thing that if you're reading that on the team, you're probably like, it's not what coach told us at the team meeting.
That's my point. He can't be the one to say this.
No, I think that's fair. But I'll tell you, there's another coach that people wanted to run out of town. They thought he was overpaid. He was underperforming. They were losing their mind over this guy.
He's still overpaid.
They wanted him gone. And that's Jim Harbaugh.
Harbaugh is still overpaid, yeah.
Oh, if he's getting more than $1, he's overpaid in my book. But here's the thing.
Yeah, back-to-back Big Ten champions.
Here's the thing.
But not to mention, we've talked about this ad nauseum, about how much money he brought in when he came here.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm sure he did. But I think that it's way too early to give up on Tucker, and I'm not going to.
Yeah, because now you've kind of sandbagged this season in 5.5 wins, which I still think is low. They come back and they win 7 games. then isn't the season a success?
I think there are two games that are really going to tell us what we got. That's the Washington game when they come to campus in September, and the Iowa game when we go on our road. I think it's our first road trip. If we can beat Washington and Iowa, watch out.
No, but I'm being serious. Let's say they go 7-5. Is that a successful season?
It's a successful.
Shawn, you're the sports guy. Is that a success?
Yeah,
Wake up.
Well, Shawn.
I'm not the sports guy.
Shawn is our music critic, so I don't want to take him out of. I don't want to take him out of his
Free Press
out of his
sports
comfort
columnist,
zone.
podcast music critic. Okay.
Free Press restaurant critic and
Shawn, if the Spartans go 7-5, is that a successful
Boulevardier,
season?
as Bill McGraw would say.
Yeah,
get to a bowl game.
I think Shawn predicted 7-5. It was a very gracious prediction.
Everything in sports is expectations.
Shawn was more optimistic about the Spartans than I think his colleagues in the prediction game, which is the most unfair thing you can possibly do to a sports writer, because how can you predict how a team's going to do when you don't know who their starting quarterback is, you don't know who their running back is, and you don't know if they have anybody other than a third option receiver?
That is not a new and unique situation in college football.
You want
I
me
know,
to read
but babies getting cancer isn't new or unique, and it's still unfair.
This is also about Michigan
Shawn's
State.
a baby with a tumor. I hate that.
This is also about.
But I like how you backed up Mel there. That was adorable.
This is
You can't
also
spell
about
Mel without ML.
Also about Mel, Michigan State.
In fact, Mel is an anagram of MLE because it's all about me.
This is from Connor.
Shawn is just transitioning.
I know. Go ahead. I'm with you, Shawn.
No, I'm not transitioning. It's the same stuff. Well, yes.
You are, but it's a beautiful segue.
Yes and no. Yes and no. Am I the only one bothered by this drug dealer or rapper imagery for Michigan State's football program? Pit bulls, pimp thrones, luxury cars, and dog, D-A-W-G, instead of dog, D-O-G, to represent a highly regarded public university. Like, who gets to make these decisions? And is everyone too scared to push back on this and call it out for fear of being smeared or racist? For one, this branding has not been successful. Tucker was 5-7 last year, 20-point differential. His recruiting is mediocre at best, and his two best players fled the program. I think two guys you were just talking about. They're predicted to go 5-7 again this season. So
Jeff Petrowski was pretty good too, and he left, so they've lost him.
So it's simply doubling down on stupid. And two, this is causing permanent harm to the optics and reputation of a public university program that has been around for 100 years and will be around for 100 more, long after the current grifters at the helm depart East Lansing. Is it so trashy and low class? It is so trashy and low class, and frankly, corny as hell. Wait a second, is it trashy or corny? It is like we have allowed our universities to be subverted by complete idiot, money-hungry grifter jocks via athletic departments, tail wagging the dog, D-A-W-G.
Where do we start?
Look, it doesn't. I will say it's not gonna look so stupid if they were really good, right? Would it look that dumb if they were 11-2? No, because the University of Miami used to do that. Remember the fatigues getting off? Vinny Testaverde wearing fatigues getting off for the Fiesta Bowl against Penn State.
All right,
and Miami has the big rapper bling chain for interceptions. I mean, this happens. This is what the kids like.
Right, and this all I'm going to say about this because it's look. I appreciate the note, Connor. Thank you, but to say just because you have a pit bull, you're a drug dealer. Come on.
Well, I mean,
no, seriously. You know the pit bulls and
a lot of drug dealers have pit bulls.
What's
a lot of my neighbors.
My son's girlfriend has a pit bull.
Yeah. So do a lot of drug dealers. I'm just saying.
Yeah, she pushes.
Yeah, but so do a lot of people. So no, it's not. It's not drug dealer imagery. It is if that's what you think. If that's how you think. If you only associate it with one thing.
You know who has
and also to say rapper. So you're implying rapper is drug dealer too. Come on, we're past that, right?
You know who has a pit bull? Amy Lang of Fox 2 from Michigan City, Indiana, as unrapper-like as they come. Also an excellent reporter and
luxury cars too.
Well, no, I think he's getting at the point of the whole image looking a lot like
what?
He's saying this is turning into a thug program. That's what he's worried about. That's what he thinks, and I think, rightly says that if you mention that, people suggest that you are racist. And I do think there are some people who see this and say, wow, this program's looking kind of ghetto. But this is what the kids like. This is what they want. This is what they aspire to. This is what makes them excited. I mean, when I was at journalism camp in Muncie, Indiana in 1984, one of the girls in journalism camp was handing out her senior picture, and it was her with her head sticking out the T-tops of her Camaro IROC, which to me looked kind of hillbilly, but that's what the kids like. That's where she grew up. That's what they wanted. And so you want kids to come here and you show them the things they aspire to.
I would have a bigger problem if it was all just phony and fake, but I think that's what Mel wants to portray his program as. And if that's, he's in charge, right?
And here's my biggest problem. Here's what I think hurts the image of our program.
If he wins, nobody's going to care.
That was my original point. Yeah, it's not going to look stupid if you were 11.
I appreciate the note, and thanks for listening, Connor. It's the drug dealer rapper making that sort of synonymous and just paint. It's too broad a brush. That's all due respect. That's what I'm saying. All the other stuff, the pit bull, whatever. I mean, it's just young people. And that's what ML and I are saying. And what they want.
Yeah. But I fully understand why someone would not like that.
I do too. But if he says
maybe they don't understand that aspect of a culture, or maybe they just don't like the way it looks.
No, I totally understand. I totally understand.
Not like what you like.
I totally understand not liking something, but it's the drug dealer part that I don't think we need anymore. And as far as the dog, DAWG, that's an honorific. I mean, that's a good thing. If you
they were Spartan dogs before.
In popular culture, I don't think drug dealers are looked down upon very much. Look at Scarface, right? People love that movie.
I don't think they wanted him to move in next door, though.
No, but I'm saying in general, in popular culture, I don't think...
They certainly don't want you to date his sister.
Do you think drug dealers are put down? No, we like movies about them, right?
Well, it depends. But it's subtle, and there's race involved in it to some degree. If you're right. A lot of people like Scarface or The Godfather, or whatever. That romanticize the idea of gangsterism, and no, for sure.
Yeah,
But somehow you separate. Like nobody calls Al Pacino.
Do I think the Spartans,
Scarface, a drug dealer? They think of him as a badass gangster.
That's what Mel's trying to put forth.
Right, it's different, but the Connor's taking something a little bit different.
Guy. It's a tough guy image, is what it's supposed to be.
And when you say dog, that's been around forever. It's like you talk to coaches, they want the dog. They want dogs.
It's a little silly, but
whatever. It's just part of the lingo.
To me, I wish what the kids aspired to might not be as flashy.
Not pump.
But that's what they want.
Whatever that band was called. What was it called?
Pulp.
Pulp.
Yeah, Pulp had a bunch of people doing ballroom dancing in tuxedos and tails.
Piss.
So.
It's great, loved it. Awesome.
But no, I do think that he's putting an image out there, and I do think that people are going to use that against us. I think they're going to say, this furthers the notion that Spartans are thugs when it takes 100 guys to beat up 2 backups. That suggests that they're a gang, that they're thugs, and I do think that this plays into that whole narrative. But really what Tucker is trying to do is bring people into a program by dangling the kind of cheese that they are going to want.
I think it's pretty simple. If you win, it looks cool. If you lose, it looks fucking stupid, period. Right? It's like that with a lot of things in sports. If you're doing something, it looks stupid if you're not winning. If you do a gimmicky type imagey thing. Right?
Yeah. By the way, what do you guys think of when people hit a home run on the Tigers? They have to put a hockey helmet on and take a shot with a hockey stick?
I was thinking that very thing.
Isn't that the corniest shit you've ever seen?
Especially when a team's 9 games under 500, right?
Well, I just think it's a lame attempt by Olympia to try and drive some eyeballs from their baseball team to their hockey team,
I mean, UNLV has the slot machine, the turnover slot machine, but the team sucks, so it looks really silly.
At least they're in Vegas, right? That's kind of funny.
I get. Well, no, I think it's hilarious. I love all that stuff, but
now if they have
kind of trite.
Instead of a turnover slot machine, they should have like a turnover craps table, because when you turn the ball over, you've crapped out.
Yeah, you want a whole big old.
I would love
craps table. And they have to go roll the dice.
Oh, dude, can you imagine the sideline, like some big Price is Right sized dice just rolling down the sideline?
Especially,
I would do that.
Full-fledged dealer there too. Not a drug dealer, but a casino dealer.
Yeah, let's not get back to Mel Tucker and the gang in East Lansing.
I sold weed, so
that's a text message from Kilpatrick.
What? I sold weed?
I sold weed in college.
Really?
That was one of his. He and Christine Beatty were exchanging, secrets, and his was. I stole weed.
I was at a university in college age, but I was not actually going to class and registered, so that's probably why I was selling weed.
Did you have a pit bull?
No.
Okay.
I did not. I mean, it would little quarter bags, Ziplocs,
Did you have a chain?
Back when it was $25 for a couple of fingers.
This confessional moment brought to you by Shawn Windsor. And we do have one more piece of feedback.
I wasn't very good. I smoked all the profit.
Don't get high off your own supply, Shawn. Come on.
I remember, I'd get a quarter, not a quarter. I can't remember
what you're talking about.
I'd get an ounce, and you'd break it up, and you'd sell a couple, and you'd smoke the rest, and
I know nothing of what you speak.
Lose money. It's well.
Damn.
Never much of an entrepreneur. Never much of anything, really.
Yeah, not much of a storyteller either.
Yeah.
I'm
music critic though. You're a great music
terrible writer. I don't know anything.
He knows what he doesn't like.
I know what makes my ears. Everything. I know what makes my ears bleed, but no, I don't know anything about anything, to be honest.
I challenged you last week, gentle listeners, to give me one reason to listen to Wang Chung other than to live and die in L.A. And Kyle says, Dance Hall Days.
Dance Hall Days is a great song.
It provides a how-to on taking your lady by her hand and making her do a high handstand. Something every male minus Shawn Windsor struggles with. It's great when everyone is back, refreshed, and ready to give Windsor the stage. Whether you want to or not.
Yeah, I wish you were refreshed
Love
today.
the show, he says.
What?
Wait, what was all that?
I'm going to pass this over.
Don't worry about it. Ignore it.
This show is all about Shawn.
I thought you wanted to wrap up. You wanted to go home.
No, I do want to wrap up. I just didn't hear.
Everybody who listens to this show
Dance Hall Days. No,
is obsessed with Shawn, except for Shawn.
I love Shawn's music reviews.
No, thank you.
Yes, no, thank you.
Thank you.
Terrible.
No, Wang Chung, fuck them.
Shawn is like Lady Godiva riding naked on a white horse, holding up a sign that says nothing to see here.
Why do you have animosity towards Wang Chung? What did they ever do to you?
So, Mike, I was coming back from a store the other day, and I was listening to Tears Are Not Enough, and I thought, I'm just going to listen to some more of this album. Now that is a great fucking album from the 80s. I don't know if you want to call them new wave or not, but...
Who's that?
ABC.
Oh, ABCs, of course they're new wave. They're fantastic.
Tears Are Not Enough.
Fantastic.
Amazing rhythm section. Those are just the orchestra.
And one of the dumbest songs ever when Smokey sings.
So but that was a little bit later. The Lexicon of Love is one of the great pop albums of the last 40 years, to me.
ABC played at the Magic Bag, I think it was earlier this year or last year, and I missed it, and I've been eating my heart out since then, because I would have loved to have seen them. And it's really just two guys, so it's them and a traveling crew. But they're ABC, fantastic, of course. Yes,
Lexicon
Shoot
of
That
Love.
Poison Arrow.
Yeah,
just for the xylophone section alone, the vibes carry them.
I mean, obviously, the Look of Love is
orchestration.
Great, it's beautiful, fun pop music. It's great. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I didn't get past the Dance Hall Days on this note.
Shawn, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
If you judge a book by the cover, do you judge a love by the lover?
Oh, that is a great line, isn't it?
Doodle-doodle-doo. Okay. We are working on a great guest, perhaps one of the greatest guests to come on the show.
Mark?
I won't even tell
Mark?
I don't even know who it is.
These guys who it is, because I am looking so forward to this. One of our listeners, Lori, has tried to hook us up with this person. When they get on here, everyone will bow down. It is going to be so amazing. It should be soon, so please do not miss an episode of The Soul of Detroit, because we are going to have something glorious coming.
I hope it's Wang Chung.
My understanding is they're not really busy these days, even though it turns out they have a second song. But everybody Wang Chung tonight?
Yeah, hell yeah.
When you reference yourself in the chorus, it just seems...
Boston. Well, Bad Company. Come on, those are great songs.
Okay, Bad Company is a great song. Talk.
It's My Life
is a great song.
Yeah.
Is that It's My Life? No.
No, that's Talk.
You're doing your own show over there. What are you doing?
It's My Life? No.
It's My Life is by Talk.
Yeah, that's a fun song. Why don't we play that? God.
Well, we
anything but pump or piss.
we put a
or
lock
whatever.
on the door of room 7609 because you insisted that we clear the room.
A prick.
To fumigate.
What's the name of that?
And then he forgot something in the room, so we have to undo the lock and go back in.
He left his glasses on the shitter. He's got to go back in and get them. So, did anybody see my cell phone charger? I think the Smiths might have taken it.
I appreciate the note, Kyle, and I don't mean to shit on dance hall days, but no.
But you did.
But no.
And you basically, your quote was,
thank you for listening,
Wang
Kyle.
Chung, fuck those guys.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just Kyle, look, it's a little bit of a trigger.
Don't walk it back. Don't
Kyle,
walk it back.
No, Kyle. The music, whatever. I'm indifferent to it, but it's a little bit of a trigger for
I'm not indifferent to it.
a difficult time in my youth, my young adulthood.
Okay.
So that's partly what it is.
I guess that weed didn't mellow you out then.
But to live and die in L.A., now that is worth savoring from the 80s. But so does that count? Because Wang Chung was part of that soundtrack.
If you have a suggestion for room 7609 or some feedback for us, please send it to mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.
Or don't.
That would cover all your options.com. He said, regretting it the minute he opened his lips and forced wind through his mouth to form the words, "What's coming up on the Carlos and Shawn podcast?"
No, not much.
Shawn?
I've been off for a couple of weeks, so I don't know. It's a surprise.
Well, you've been off for longer than that, my friend.
A whole lot of nothing.
Come on, it's all football, right? Isn't this just all football?
It's all
football.
It's whatever Carlos says. Carlos, yeah.
Will you stop this act?
Me. You know?
I am so glad Shawn does not work in the promotions department at the Free Press. There's nothing in the paper today.
When are you guys recording?
No, you guys do great stuff. Neil Rubin, you're both vying for the best columnist at the Free Press. Mitch, I guess when he writes. No, lots of good stuff. Your wife, Therese, she does a great job.
Dan Afana had a good story.
Dan Afana had a good story today.
Sheffield running for mayor.
We got lots of good stuff in the Free Press. They don't need me. What were you saying, Mark?
I don't know what you're talking about anymore.
What were you saying, Mark?
I don't like this self-loathing act.
What were you saying?
I was waiting for you to take us out.
Oh, I love your Michigan shirt.
Thank you. Go blue. Are we done?
We're done.
Are we out, Joe?
We're out.
I defer to Shawn. He's taking over anyway. He just can't help it. He's a megalomaniac. He's a control freak.
It really shines in the fourth quarter, doesn't it?
Nice projection.
Hey, it's a trademark of all the great columnists.
Oh, the projection. He's been saying that before the score. All right, Cyrus, take us out.
Can you dig that?
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
The only thing that matters is who has the power. And the wrong person has the power.
We shouldn't give up hope just yet. The good guys, they're about to win.
ML Soul of Detroit.